Hello, welcome to our reading lessons for the week. We have a new story. All right, before we get our new story done, we are going to do the same thing as last week with creating one of these papers. So if you want to go ahead and get that ready with characters and setting on the front, beginning, middle, and end on the back. Feel free to pause me if you would like and go ahead and get that set up. That being said, make sure you watch all the way to the end because we're going to actually add something. You know what? I'm going to tell you right now. Here's what we're going to add to our characters today. It's Monday, so I am going to ask you to do the characters part of this today with our new story that I'm getting ready to introduce to you. So previously, I have only asked you to draw a picture of each character and write their name, who they are, okay? This week, I'm going to add a little bit more to that. I want you to do two pictures of the two main characters. I want you to tell me who they are, but I also want you to write a sentence of telling me something about them. For instance, if I was doing last week's, I might have a picture of the little girl who we didn't call her Trisha in the book, but we know she's Trisha. So I might have a picture of Trisha and say, Trisha learns to be not afraid of thunderstorms. That's something about her, right? Trisha learns not to be afraid of thunderstorms. Then I might have a picture of Grandma, Babushka. We know it's Babushka, although they just refer to her as Grandma in this book. Okay, and I might say, Grandma teaches Trisha not to be afraid of thunderstorms. I just want to write a sentence about each character telling something about them, okay? So we're adding that too. I want a picture of the characters and I want a sentence telling me who they are and something about them, okay? That's adding to it for this week. Okay, here we go. This week, we're going to be working on the book Mike Mulligan and His Steam Shovel by Virginia Burton Lee. Nope, I said that wrong. Virginia Lee Burton, sorry. And I happen to love this story as well. I know I say that on so many books. I just have so many books that I love. This one is a book that's set back a few years ago, back before there were gasoline engines and there were steam engines. And you might be like, Mrs. Jarvis, I don't know what you're talking about. So we're going to work on building your background knowledge before we start reading this book. I'm going to show you the inside cover of this book because I love the inside cover of this book. I need to scoosh it back just a little bit. There we go. So this is our character, Mike Mulligan, and this is his steam shovel. It's like a big digger truck, isn't it? That's exactly what it is. But back in this time, they didn't run by gasoline or diesel. They ran by steam. And so this kind of breaks down how it runs, okay? So inside here, this is called the cab, there is a coal burner. So coal is something that is dug out of the ground and it's big black chunks. And yes, if you're naughty, Santa could put it in your stocking instead of gifts, but it is something that's actually very useful. It can be burned to make like a fire, okay? So they would burn this coal and they would heat up water to boiling. And we know, so there'd be a water tank in there that they'd heat up to boiling, there'd be a boiler, and we know that when we have boiling water, steam comes off of it. And here's some of that steam coming up and out of it. And the steam, the hot steam would go down a pipe and with lots of pressure, and that's what would make it run. That is what would make it run. So you see all of the labels on here telling you all the different things. I'm actually going to come to the other side. Bend this page back a little bit. So up here we have the smokestack that the smoke comes out of. We have the cab I talked about, and in here the coal burner. There's that black coal right there. Down here we have a turntable. So this is what allowed it to turn in different directions, whatever direction he wanted to face and turn the machine in, okay? These are the caterpillars down here. This is how they rolled around on the ground to move, kind of like an army tank would move. So there is a hoisting operator, and that is Mike Mulligan. So the hoisting operator is the one who makes this go up, down, and all around, and the whole machine move wherever it needs to go. Okay, so on here to make it work, inside here we've got a swing lever, which lets it swing back and forth. We have a hoist lever that makes it go up and down. There's a crowd lever. Mrs. Jarvis doesn't even know what that means, so we're just going to let that one go. There's a trip line right here that helps control this big thing. There is that we're going to learn is called the dipper. Let me see if I can open this up and show you. It's very much on the crease right here. The dipper, this is the big thing that goes down into the earth to dig it out, okay? This is the tongue part of the dipper that can open up and let the dirt back out. These are the teeth part of the dipper up here that digs down into the ground. This big arm part that comes out, kind of like a big arm, is called the boom. That's called the boom. This is called the dipper stick. This right here is called the trip line that helps control it all, okay? So there is that steam shovel that's going to be digging into the earth. Now, before these were around, people had to do all their digging by hand with a shovel, and that took a lot longer than what this did. This helped make big buildings back in the day when they were first being made. So let's go ahead and begin. Mike Mulligan and his steam shovel. Take a look at this story. Mike Mulligan had a steam shovel, a beautiful red steam shovel. Her name was Mary Ann. Mike Mulligan was very proud of Mary Ann. He always said that she could dig as much dirt in a day as 100 men could dig in a week, but he had never been quite sure that this was true. Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann had been digging together for years and years. Mike Mulligan took such good care of Mary Ann, she never grew old. It was Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann and some others who dug the great canals for the big boats to sail through. So I'm going to let you take a nice close-up look at these pictures. And then we're going to talk about what a canal is. Now, we're probably more familiar with these than most people who read this book because we have canals here in Northport. But as you can see, they're busy digging right here. And here's the finished product. And the words say, who dug great canals for the big boats to sail through. So if I use my background knowledge and the pictures and the words, I can figure out that a canal must be an area that's dug out of land for the water to travel through. There's a canal. There was water on this side. There was water on this side. And before, the boats would have had to go all the way around, but they dug a canal now for the boats to travel through, an area of water that goes through land for the boats to travel through. Okay. It was Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann and some others who cut through the high mountains so that trains could go through. Look at that. It was Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann and some others who lowered the hills and straightened the curves to make the long highways for the automobiles. Look at that. It was Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann and some others who smoothed out the ground and filled in the holes to make the landing fields for airplanes. And it was Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann and some others who dug the deep holes for the cellars of the tall skyscrapers in the big cities. When people used to stop and watch them, Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann used to dig a little faster and a little better. The more people stopped, the faster and better they dug. Some days they would keep as many as 37 trucks busy taking away the dirt that they had dug. So let's talk about a word that we may not be as familiar with that was in this one. And that was the word cellar. Let me read that sentence again. And it was Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann and some others who dug the deep holes for the cellars of the tall skyscrapers in the big city. Dug the deep holes for the cellars. So now I'm using the picture and the words together and maybe something in my background knowledge. Now this is something we do not see here in Florida a lot. A cellar is another word for a basement, if you're familiar with that word. So that's where you go down, you have to dig down under the ground, and you make kind of like a room down in there, and then the rest of the building is built on top of it. So that is a cellar or a basement that's underneath. Up north where I used to live, I had a basement or a cellar, and we would do all kinds of things down in there. We had lots of great living space down inside of there, and I had a wood-burning stove down there that I loved to go sit in front of and read my book when I had some free reading time. And so that was a very special place for me in my house up north. Here in Florida, we don't have cellars, we don't have basements. And that is because we live in an area that is considered below water level. So that if you dig down too far, all of a sudden water is going to start gushing up out of the ground because we live so close to water everywhere around us. So we can't dig down in. It would be wet all the time because water would be down in there. But up north, when you're farther away from the water, that's not the case. So we can dig down, it stays dry, and it makes a nice little room down underneath of there. That is a cellar. Then along came the new gasoline shovels and the new electric shovels and the new diesel motor shovels and took all the jobs away from the steam shovels. Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann were very sad. And this little sign right here on the door says, "No steam shovels wanted." So, along came shovels that used gasoline like our cars do today. Electric, so they could use batteries or plug in and use electricity. And diesel motor shovels. So diesel is just actually another form of gasoline that some big trucks use. All the other steam shovels were being sold for junk or left out in old gravel pits to rust and fall apart. Mike loved Mary Ann. He couldn't do that to her. He had taken such good care of her that she could still dig as much in a day as 100 men could dig in a week. At least he thought she could, but he wasn't quite sure. Everywhere they went, the new gas shovels and the new electric shovels and the new diesel motor shovels all had the jobs. No one wanted Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann anymore. Then, one day, Mike read in a newspaper that the town of Popperville was going to build a new town hall. That's like our city hall that we went and visited on our field trip. "We are going to dig the cellar of that town hall," said Mike to Mary Ann, and off they started. They left the canals and the railroads and the highways and the airports and the big cities where no one wanted them anymore, and they went away out in the country. They crawled along slowly up the hills and down the hills till they came to the little town of Poppersville. When they got there, they found that the selectmen were just deciding who should dig the cellar for the new town hall. Mike Mulligan spoke to Henry B. Swap, one of the selectmen. "I heard," he said, "that you are going to build a new town hall. Mary Ann and I will dig the cellar for you in just one day." "What?" said Henry B. Swap. "Dig a cellar in a day? It would take 100 men at least a week to dig the cellar for our new town hall." "Sure," said Mike, "but Mary Ann can dig as much in a day as 100 men can dig in a week," though he had never been quite sure that this was true. Then he added, "If we can't do it, you won't have to pay us." Henry B. Swap thought that this would be an easy way to get part of the cellar dug for nothing, so he smiled in a rather mean way. Smile in a mean way. Yeah, I don't know how to smile in a mean way either. And gave the job of digging the cellar of the new town hall to Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann. They started in early the next morning, just as the sun was coming up. Soon a little boy came along. "Do you think you will finish by sundown?" he said to Mike Mulligan. "Sure," said Mike, "if you stay and watch us. We always work faster and better when someone is watching us." So the little boy started to watch. Then Mrs. McGillicuddy, Henry B. Swap, and the town constable came to see what was happening, and they stayed to watch. I can see right here we have Mrs. McGillicuddy. This must be Henry B. Swap because this has to be the town constable, which is another name for police officer. Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann dug a little faster and a little better. This gave the little boy a good idea. He ran off and told the postman with the morning mail, the telegraph boy on his bicycle, and the milkman with his cart and horse, the doctor on his way home, and the farmer and his family coming into town for the day, and they all stopped and stayed to watch. That made Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann dig a little faster and a little better. They finished the first corner neat and square. But the sun was getting higher. So there's that first corner, neat and square. Cling, cling, cling! The fire department arrived. They had seen the smoke and thought there was a fire. Then the little boy said, "Why don't you stay and watch?" So the fire department of Popperville stayed to watch Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann. When they heard the fire engine, the children in the school across the street couldn't keep their eyes on their lessons. The teacher called a long recess and the whole school came out to watch. That made Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann dig a little faster and still better. They finished the second corner neat and square, but the sun was right up at the top of the sky. Ooh, do you know what time that is when the sun's right up at the top of the sky? 12 o'clock noon. Let's make a prediction. So it's 12 o'clock noon. We know that from where the sun is in the sky, and we know that he's completed 2 corners. So I want you to make your prediction of, do you think Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann will finish the cellar in one day like they said, or do you not? Go ahead and tell me. Okay, now tell me why you think that. Why do you think they will or will not finish? Go ahead and tell me. I like how you're using the clues from the story. Let's find out. Now, the girl who answers the telephone called up the next towns of Bangerville and Bopperville and Kipperville and Copperville and told them what was happening in Popperville. All the people came to see if Mike Mulligan and his steam shovel could dig the cellar in just one day. The more people came, the faster Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann dug. But they would have to hurry. They were only halfway through, and the sun was beginning to go down. They finished the third corner, neat and square. So here they are. Never had Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann had so many people to watch them. Never had they dug so fast and so well. And never had the sun seemed to go down so fast. Hurry, Mike Mulligan, hurry, hurry, shouted the little boy. There's not much more time. Dirt was flying everywhere, and the smoke and steam were so thick that the people could hardly see anything. But listen. Bing, bang, crash, slam, louder and louder, faster and faster. So they might not have been able to see Mary Ann and Mike Mulligan working, but they could hear them. Then, suddenly, it was quiet. Slowly, the dirt settled down, the smoke and steam cleared away, and there was the cellar, all finished. 4 corners, neat and square, 4 walls straight down, and Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann at the bottom, and the sun was just going down behind the hill. So I'm going to pause right there. Was your prediction correct? Did they finish? Or was your prediction not correct? Is it okay if our predictions aren't correct? Yes, as long as we're using our text evidence and we're looking for those clues in the book. Here we go. Hurry, shouted the people. Oh, nope, not hurry, hooray. Hooray, shouted the people. Hooray for Mike Mulligan and his steam shovel. They have dug the cellar in just one day. Suddenly, the little boy said, "How are they going to get out?" "That's right," said Mrs. McGillicuddy to Henry B. Swap. "How is he going to get his steam shovel out?" Henry B. Swap didn't answer, but he smiled in that rather mean way. I tried. Then everybody said, "How are they going to get out?" "Hi, Mike Mulligan! How are you going to get your steam shovel out?" Mike Mulligan looked around at the 4 square walls and the 4 square corners, and he said, "We've dug so fast and we've dug so well that we've quite forgotten to leave a way out." Nothing like this had ever happened to Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann before, and they didn't know what to do. Let's try another prediction. Can you predict a way that they may solve their problem? What are they going to do to solve this problem? Think about it. Tell me why you think that. I heard some good ideas. Let's see what happens. Nothing like this had ever happened before in Popperville. Everybody started talking at once, and everybody had a different idea, and everybody thought his idea was the best. Sounds a little bit like our classroom, doesn't it? Yeah. They talked and they talked and they argued and they fought until they were worn out, and still no one knew how to get Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann out of the cellar they had dug. Then Henry B. Swap said, "The job isn't finished because Mike Mulligan isn't out of the cellar, so Mike Mulligan won't get paid." And he smiled in a rather mean way. Now the little boy, who had been keeping very quiet, had another good idea. He said, "Why couldn't we leave Mary Ann in the cellar and build the new town hall above her? Let her be the furnace for the new town hall, and let Mike Mulligan be the janitor Then you wouldn't have to buy a new furnace, and we could pay Mike Mulligan for digging the cellar in just one day. Huh. What an interesting idea. Leave Mary Ann in the cellar. Now there's two words you might be unfamiliar with. Let's see if we can use our clues to figure them out. So he said, let her be the furnace for the new town hall. Doesn't give a lot of clues, doesn't it? Then you wouldn't have to buy a new furnace, it says, but it doesn't say what the furnace is. So we're going to talk about that. A furnace is the same as a heater. So she would stay down there and she would go from being a digger that she is, the steam shovel that she is, and instead use that coal burning and the steam to become the furnace that heats the building. What a good idea. And Mike Mulligan's new job would be the janitor. We call the janitor in our building the custodian, the person who comes in and helps take care of our rooms, cleans them, fixes things, all of those things. So Mike Mulligan would have that job for the town hall now. Do you like the boys' idea? I do too. I think it's a great idea. Let's see what happens. Why not? Said Henry B. Swap, and smiled in a way that was not quite so mean. Why not? Said Mrs. McGillicuddy. Why not? Said the town constable. Why not? Said all the other people. So they found a ladder and climbed down into the cellar to ask Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann. Why not? Said Mike Mulligan. So it was decided, and everybody was happy. They built the new town hall right over Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann. It was finished before winter. Every day the little boy goes over to see Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann, and Mrs. McGillicuddy takes him a nice hot apple pie. As for Henry B. Swap, he spends most of his time in the cellar of the new town hall, listening to the stories that Mike Mulligan has to tell and smiling in a way that isn't mean at all. And this says Popperville Town Hall right there. Now, when you go to Popperville, be sure to go down in the cellar of the new town hall. There they'll be Mike Mulligan and Mary Ann, Mike in his rocking chair smoking his pipe, and Mary Ann beside him warming up the meetings in the new town hall. There they are down in their cellar of the town hall doing their job. And that is the end of Mike Mulligan and his steam shovel. All right, go ahead and draw those pictures of the two main characters. Write a sentence including the character's name and something about them for both of the characters. Thanks for your hard work today.